Okay, so I'm Angus Woodward, and I've been doing the John Muir Award since May last year, and I'm just going to be talking about some of the things we've been doing and that we've learned over the course of the John Muir Award. So when we started off, we were looking at different trees and different types of trees and the native ones to England. And like one that stuck out to me was the silver birch. I remember, I think it doesn't live very long and it can be quite rare. And we were identifying like leaves to different trees. We also, I remember we made some dandelion fritters, we made edibles as well, like dandelion fritters and nettle tea. And it was really, the nettle tea I remember had a strange taste in a way, like it was nice but a bit bitter at the same time. And I remember the dandelion fritters were really sweet. It was almost like pancakes in a way. I remember we learned about fungi and mushrooms. Like we went foraging looking for mushrooms at one point. Like we found I think it's called the elf cups or elf ear or something. And there was this one that it has, I can't remember the exact name, but it has bun. It's like a baker's bun or something. We were finding different fungi and mushrooms, and we've learned about different ways that fungi can get onto how it can decompose rotting logs. And I remember one fungi that stuck out to me was the zombie fungi, I think it's called. Because what it does, it basically attacks insects and affects the brain, controls the brain. And with the ant, for example, it makes them go to the top of trees where it latches on to leaves. And then the ant will die and the fungi will then spread. And we've done some physical work as well, like cutting back overgrowth, which I remember, which can help with the land as well. Not just for health and safety with the little kids that go there, but also more space for wildlife possibly, and new growth, that's not just brambles but flowers even.
Okay, Angus. So what are you doing?
We're removing the ash and the sycamore buds in a way, stems, because the area that they're in is really dense and there's loads of them all together, so they're not going to be growing too well, and then it's really dense. It's mainly the density. And
so you're cutting out. So you're removing the little saplings, the little tiny trees that are growing here. And what were we going to say about sycamores?
The sycamores aren't native, they're an invasive species.
Right.
But it's mainly just the fact that they're really dense together that we're taking out.
Okay, so you're thinning out this area.
Yeah.
And why is this area in particular been chosen to thin out the trees here? Do you know how will it improve the area?
It will help the other trees grow because it would be more space and and possibly more lighting, I reckon.
Absolutely.
And then all these stems won't be taking up all the nutrients.
What might come in its place underneath the trees? If there's
more
light,
flowers, fresher soil possibly.
You get more plants and flowers. Yeah, you get more. What do you know what it's called for when you've got a lot of different plants? There's a word for it. It begins with biodiversity. That's right. So we're improving the biodiversity by managing the woodlands better. Yeah?
Yeah.
Nice.
And then you can tell ash and sycamore apart by sycamore has the green buds.
Yeah.
And ash has basically the same but black buds.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Great. Thank you.
Went pond dipping, and that's one thing that really stuck out to me. Because it was quite a small pond, and that you wouldn't expect much stuff to be in there on the first glance, but there was loads of wildlife. We found newts, leeches, pond skimmers, I think they're called, even a dragonfly larvae, and some mini fish and snails. It was really, really fun. I really liked that. The dragonfly larvae, well, I've never seen them before, and it was quite big, and it looks quite scaly in a way, like shelly, like a shrimp kind of. And I learned that they can be in the water in the pond for up to 4 years, and then when they crawl up onto a stem and turn into a dragonfly. The pond there is run by, it's on the land of Weleda, and Weleda, it's a really good place for wildlife and nature there because they don't use any unnatural, they don't use chemicals or fertilisers or any unnatural harmful stuff that can be harmful to the environment. So the pond is really clean and good for wildlife, whereas in other ponds there's surface runoff with all the chemical fertiliser that farmers can use, and in eutrophication, and there's loads of algal bloom at times, which can really affect wildlife because it eats off the oxygen in the ponds that can basically just kill any living creatures in there. I think Britain can help improve and support pond life if a lot better and a lot more if they cut down on all the unnatural and quite deadly chemicals and that we've been using. I really enjoyed just being there in general because seeing the changes in the different seasons. In summer it was really warm and flowers and all sorts. And then in the winter it was quite not many leaves and really cold and icy. We made fires a lot of the time, and that was quite cool in itself, learning the different components that you need to make a fire. And it was a really nice time. So we learned about John Muir himself, how he was originally from Scotland, and he even back in Victorian times, he saw the different changes, the effects and impacts that humans were having on nature back in those days, and he tried to make. I think he spoke to the president or had a rally that the president getting loads of certain areas, the nature reserve parks, I think they are, where no one will build on them or have roads on, so it would just be left to the wildlife, because he could see even in those days the impact that we were having on the world. And that's really interesting and got me thinking, because if he was noticing the effects we were having all those years ago, just thinking of the effects that we would have had up to now, how drastic the effects would have been now. And that's my time at the John Muir Award in the Weleda Gardens.